Welcome to Romera Records virtual cast. Today we have on Bandhul. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm in India. So yeah, so enjoying a bit.
Awesome. So basically got you from Podmatch and interested in what you do, who you are, stuff like that. So I guess just go ahead and get into it. Let everybody know, how you got started and all the things that you're involved with.
So yeah, so a brief about myself. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started my career 10 years back in 2014. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and my first venture was could be Apparels, which was an apparel B2B merchandise company. We used to manufacture hoods, t-shirts for various companies, including JP Morgan, ICICI Bank, L'Oreal, Uber Eats, and all of these were our clients. We used to manufacture t-shirts and merch for them. It lately became the second largest B2B merchandise company in India by 2019, and then we ventured into blockchain technology. I started tingling with blockchain technology in 2016. I was investing in various coins and made good money in 2017, and then lost it all in 2018 in the bear market. And then in 2019, I went into it and I started an education company which was called FinStreet, where we used to educate Indians about blockchain technology and all of these things, and how Web3 works and how stuff like that. We worked with 200 plus blockchain companies in a brand which was FinStreet. And by 2021, that company got acquired by a group of HNIs, and I got sweet exit. And then I started my angel investing journey and did angel investing for a year and two, invested in 20 startups, got some good exits. And then I started, working with the Zurich-based company, which is Definitive Foundation, ICP, which is Internet Computer Protocol, and we are running India Hub for them, which is where we are doing activation for them in India via various activities such as hackathons, boot camps, ideathons, and incubations, and all of that stuff. So yeah, currently I'm empowering entrepreneurs with all my initiatives and all the things that I do.
That sounds like a good bit. I guess let's kind of go back to like when you started working with all these different companies. What really got you into that space? Like how did you make those connections?
So it was a good journey, For example, for the apparel business, I come from a town which is known as the apparel manufacturing hub in India. That's why, so I already had that connection, and my dad is into the similar business. So that's why it was easier for me to do the apparel business. So for the blockchain or the cryptocurrency space, so I had one person who came back from US, and he used to work with Google there, and he was a Bitcoin maximalist. He introduced me to the world of Web3 and blockchain, and that was my pretty much my first professional introduction to the Web3 space, and I found it very fascinating. All the concept around it, and it intrigued me, and that's how I got started.
Okay. So is it something that you felt like was going to be like an easy transition, being able to work with these different companies on what you do, or did it seem like there might have been some pushback?
No, actually, Web3 space in general is very welcoming. So if you start a new venture and you reach out to people, generally people are very acceptable because this is a new industry, right? And with the first Bitcoin white paper laws launched in 2008, and first Bitcoin was mined in January 2009. So it's a pretty new space to be in. And I entered the space in 2016, and people were very welcoming. And once you want to start something of your own in this space, people will generally welcome you, and they will help you out with the basics. So yeah, so I didn't find it challenging for the network and everything, because I used to reach out to people via their emails or via DMs on Twitter or LinkedIn, and I got positive responses from people, which was a very good motivator at that point of time.
Did it seem like people were trying to understand it, or did it seem like they were just like, ah, you're the expert, we'll let you handle it?
Uh, Pretty much they helped me with everything, right? And so it was a very positive transition from there, and they never realized that they were the experts of the field that I'm not, and they teached me, and I generally like to pass on the legacy to the younger folks that I interact with these days.
Oh, okay. Because I know that stuff can be pretty confusing to a lot of people. And no matter how many times you explain it, it might still
Mhm.
seem like it can be difficult to grasp. So, always wonder about that. Always wonder, people who are doing all kinds of cryptocurrencies and in managing people's funds and wallets when it comes to that stuff, like how much education do they have to give to the people who they're managing that stuff for? Because a lot of times those people don't really know what's really going on. They just know that somebody's managing it for them.
Yeah, it's very important. That's why my first venture was around crypto education only, Finstraight. And we used to educate people about these basic things, how to set up your wallet, how to, get your, how to use the exchanges, how to safeguard yourself from the scams and everything that's happening in the space. So, since cryptocurrency is a new space, people get into all of these things. It's very challenging at that time, but the education can solve all of these problems.
Now, something that you also mentioned was just the different companies that are doing this kind of stuff. What have you seen as far as like any kind of innovation or progression when it comes to allowing people to use cryptocurrencies? Because I know that's a big thing of people. I mean, you can have all the cryptocurrencies in the world, but if companies aren't letting you use them, then it's not really as valuable.
So what, can you please reiterate your question? I'm afraid I'm unable to understand your question.
Yeah, basically, I was asking about the ability of companies to create a way to use cryptocurrencies instead of just, people can have, I was saying, like, people can have cryptocurrencies all day long, but if companies aren't innovating ways to use them, for instance, like Apple is starting to have it to where you can have your driver's license on your
Yeah. So a lot of innovation is happening on that end. For example, you were asking about the UX of new people onboarding, right? So a lot of companies and a lot of wallets are working on it. For example, initially we just had CLI wallets, that is command line wallets. You have to code if you want to create your wallet. Now you can create your wallet like any other app on your mobile devices, on your laptop. It's very easy. Then the exchanges came into the play where they thought that okay, you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies with fiat on the table, and it was a very similar platform, just like any discount broker out there. And now the third stage is ETFs. US is already seeing a lot of Bitcoin ETFs are launching, and people can now buy Bitcoin on their exchange markets only, right? And via their stockbrokers itself, because now ETFs are there. All of these hedge funds are providing the Bitcoin because they can now hold the custody of your Bitcoin, and you can buy these Bitcoins in the stock market. So the ETS is the next way forward. So yes, the ease of use of cryptocurrency is going to increase day by day, and people are working for it, right? So we had something from the command line to the mobile and the desktop only wallets, and then mobile wallets, and then exchanges, and now ETFs. So that there's a positive progression on this line.
Okay. Do you think that that is something that is going at I guess, like a quick pace, or does it seem like it's going slow because people are still kind of unsure about it?
No, it's going at a great pace because again, the user involvement is very high in the product. We have seen massive amount of developer activity and developer involvement and all of these things. So obviously the involvement of people is huge, and we are seeing this space growing at a massive scale at this point of time.
Do you see other users and consumers having access to this easily, or does it seem like there are people who are still kind of figuring out ways? I know it's usually older people, I would say 40 plus, maybe 50 plus, who are usually against this kind of technology because they didn't grow up with it, and people who are probably like
Yeah,
under 40 or more inclined to.
yeah. So crypto in general and Web3 in general is very inclined toward the teenagers and the youngsters below 30. Once you go above 30 line, the inhibitants about these tech products is huge. As you have rightly mentioned, that they didn't grow with this tech, right? Internet is a huge shocker to them. For example, the people in 40s and 50s, the internet is something that is new to them, and this is now Web3, that is the next phase of internet, of the blockchain technology. Because on internet, we just have to have our data. On Web3, the assets are also digital. The assets are also on internet. So it's very difficult for them to digest the fact. So obviously, the participation from the elderly people is less as compared to the other ones. But again, we can see a positive inflow from them, lately. But again, this market is generally for the youngsters as of now.
Do you think that that is good for the market, like having younger people kind of controlling what's going on?
I don't think so because again, lately because these people in their 40s and 50s, at least in countries like India, hold a huge amount of wealth with them because they have savings and they have all the things that they have. Once that money will start coming into the markets will boom like anything. So purely on a financial perspective, absence of their experience and their resources obviously is not good for the market. But at the same time, the youngsters bring the liveliness and the innovation at like nobody else, right? So from that perspective, it's good for the market on that perspective. So there are like pros and cons of not having boomers on our side.
Yeah, that's very true. We talk about that all the time with like real estate and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
people who have the money are the older people, and they're not necessarily
right.
the ones that are moving around. It's the younger people who are moving around, but they don't really
Absolutely.
funds to be doing all that.
Sure. So yeah, exactly this point. Because again, the people who have the money are the older people. The younger people don't have the kind of resources that we need to move the market. But at the same time, the innovation and the excitement and the quickness of the younger generation obviously is good for the market in this perspective.
Do you see any kind of, other than, financial access, do you see any other kind of like stop gaps or roadblocks that can prevent crypto from starting to take over as far as like people's main source of financial use?
Currently, there are some technical challenges. For example, gas fee, the transaction fee that you have to pay while you're transacting on a blockchain is sometimes become very unaffordable in the bigger blockchains such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, which can be one of the big roadmaps for the small users and who wants to put in like $100, $200. They can't pay a gas fee of $50 on each transaction, right? It can be unaffordable for them at certain point of time. But along with that, the regulation or the the in consistency from the government regulations can be another turn off for a lot of people that they are scared to get into this technology and they see it as some kind of a scam, going forward. So lack of regulations and the technical challenges that again we are solving with new upcoming tech always. But yeah, these two things can be a bit of the roadblocks
Yeah,
going
scamming
forward.
is a big thing because people are always worried about, how they can well, and also like what you said with the lack of education, right? That kind of
Yeah,
attribute.
because people get scammed because it's a new industry, right? And a lot of people are coming into it and they don't know much about the industry. So that the ad is it's a new industry. B, there's a lack of regulation, right? So it's an unregulated industry. So new industry combined with unregulation or unregulatory framework makes it a perfect choice for the scammers, right? And since it's a financial product, so they come in and they try to scam people. But sooner or later, people will understand all of these scams and they will be educated about it, and then will be solved this problem. But as of today, it's a big problem. These scammers are doing to the market. Yes.
So I guess what would be your advice for people who, you get the infamous emails or just people trying to contact you about those kind of things? What would be your advice on how to avoid those kind of things?
I, I, I'll just advise them that, first of all, research before putting your money into anything. A, the research is very important whenever you're putting money into anything. B, if something is looking too good to be true, don't invest. C, if there are no risks attached and the reward is huge, then are certain risks attached to it, right? Then it can be a scam. Because again, everything is subject to the market risk, and you should understand that it's a financial instrument at the end of the day. Nobody can give you 3% per day return on the staking reward. Nobody can do it. You have to be very cautious about the risks involved in it. If something has reward to it, then there must be a risk involved to it, and you should look for that risk always. So yeah, this would be my advice to the people.
Yeah, I would definitely say the best scams are realistic, right? Like the more realistic it seems, that's a better scam. But like the worst scams
Yeah,
are ones where they're like, "Oh, if you just click here, you can have 1 million Bitcoin." It's like that doesn't make any sense. But some people do
yeah,
fall for those unrealistic things. So yeah, if it seems realistic, like, you need to do this and you might not get, money, then it's like, oh, that's realistic because that's how the real world works. Like you don't know what's going to happen.
right.
If something's trying to guarantee
But
you something,
but but ag- but again, so for example, if somebody reaches out to me saying, Jackson sent me this address and you should do it. I should reach out to you and check it with you. And if you say tell me that okay, this is a Google product and Google is launching the cryptocurrency, I should, and the currency's name is, for example, Genesis. So I would say Genesis crypto scam. Just type it on Google and you will get the details. If there's a scam to attach to it, then somebody might have scammed and they must have written a Twitter post somewhere or LinkedIn post somewhere and you'll see it. So doing a bit of due diligence or just Googling the basic things will get you the results. So it's good to be cautious.
yeah, I believe so as well. And like anytime, so if you get an email or phone call and they tell you, to do something, always just they say just hang up and call the company directly or go to the company's website directly because there's never a rush to do anything. That
Absolutely.
you can always take your time.
100, 100%. So yeah, that's the case.
Yes, for sure. So also what is something that you feel like is missing from this world of crypto that we're going into? What's something that you feel like we need to have that we just currently don't have? It could be more applications of using them. I know NFTs was a thing for musicians in the music
So
world.
So we just need more good products that are user friendly, and we need one big massive success in the Web3 world. On the consumer side of the thing, for example, for Web2 it was Google, Amazon, and Facebook. All of these companies basically changed the things that we do on internet. Similarly, we need to have one hero product in the Web3 space because again, investing is there, right? The most applications in the Web3 space are all about trading, are all about exchanging funds or doing the financial transaction. But the user engagement product is missing in the Web3. So we need one hero user engagement product that can come from a social spy space, that is from the social spy or from the anything from the GameFi. That is the games that are built on blockchain. So again, among these two things, we need one hero product that is accepted globally and people are using it actively because the products are fun to use. So we need that one hero product to onboard next billion users onto the blockchain industry.
Do you feel like somebody is making like a hero product push? Like,
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people are making. In fact, I'm investing in few, so I'm hoping that these products become this tomorrow.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too familiar with, the companies or people who are in that space and trying to create those types of things, but I do know that there are people who really got into the NFTs and people were making music and like art and all kinds of stuff and they were trying to make a lot.
Yeah, you should this industry you should look into it because you are a creator yourself and the opportunities in this industry are huge. So this product, the industry is worth exploring and you will explore a lot of verticals in this industry. So what people have a misconception that if you want to get into blockchain or Web3, then you have to be a developer, you have to be a coder. But no, we are in a dire need of marketers, we are in a dire need of content creators, we are in a dire need of entrepreneurs, finance guys who can handle various things. So it's good to be it's good to go into the industry and explore it.
Have you seen anybody do anything that is detrimental to the space as far as like knocking it? I've seen a lot of people like influencers or business people online saying that, you know, crypto's not going to do this, crypto's bad or whatever. Have you seen people kind of knocking it?
For example, all the outsider people generally slam it, right? It's okay. It doesn't matter much. But if somebody from the inside, somebody who's very well respected in the industry, do something wrong to the industry, then it pushes the industry like few years back. For example, you must have heard about the scenario with FTX and Sam Altman, this Sam Fried did this case, right? And it was very bad for the industry who lost their funds in FTX, and it was very, very bad. So again, he was inside. He was building for the Web3 space, and he kind of scammed the people from the inside, which was very detrimental for the industry, for the people, for the believers of the Web3 technology.
Yeah, and it one person could, you know, really shift things in either way, right? Like you could have one person
Yeah. So
really
this
help.
FTX. Yeah, please, please.
Yeah, that's all I was going to say. You have one person really help or hurt your situation.
Yeah, this FTX scenario pushed back the industry by 2 years, and which was like very, very sad. And it was all over the news, and people were very pessimistic about the scenario, and people were actually hurt.
Do you think that that's something that the public, do you think that they can, I guess, get over, you know, those types of things when they see it in the media?
They do, but actually it takes time. For example, if you can recover the market in like 6 months with the new capital, and if something negative like this pops up in all the major news media channels across the world, then obviously it will hit the mindset of the people, and they will think that this is a very risky asset, and things are not very good in the industry. So we should not get into it. We should not invest into it. We should not build for the industry, which will push the industry backwards for sure. It can happen to any industry.
Yeah, I know a lot of people usually if they see something negative happening or just something that they just don't understand, people have opinions, right? Like people are always giving their own opinion on things that are happening in the world and they continue to just say whatever they want to say. But a lot of times people just aren't really familiar with something. So they will say something, but it doesn't really make any sense to people who actually understand what's going on in the background.
Yeah, so that's why we always do the Mythbuster sessions with people, and we try to help them with their misunderstanding. That, for example, a lot of people in the in the Web3 space thinks that Bitcoin can be easily hacked because it's an online product at the end. But that's not true, because you can't hack the Bitcoin, because even if you have to do the 51% hack, then you have to have a lot of computing power that you have to put into the network just to do the 51% hack. So yes, we always do these mythbuster kind of sessions for the people so that they can understand the industry better. But at the same time, there will be misconceptions that will linger around the industry.
You know, I never thought about people misunderstanding, I guess just that in general is the ability for things to get hacked because like, you know, your regular bank account can get hacked. So why not crypto? But it's different kinds of money, you know, it's different ways of currency.
Um, Right, and the technology is very different, because again, the Bitcoin is nothing but I always say that it's the computational power that has spent to secure the network, and the computational power is huge. That is securing the Bitcoin network in itself. That makes it so valuable
So also
for the
going
world.
to what you were talking about earlier with regulations and everything. So you being in India, like what have you seen India do as far as like regulating, allowing people to do stuff? How's that going?
So India is bit on the pessimistic side when it comes to the regulations, and India do not have a pro regulation for the Web3, which is sad for the industry, and that's why you see a lot of people are moving from India to Dubai just to build in the Web3 space, right? We are seeing a huge amount of brain drain happening in India because of this, and uh, it's one of the major concerns that we have as the Indian entrepreneur building in the Web3 space.
Did you say brain drain? Like people are leaving, but and it's like kind of ruining the technology or advancement. That's what you meant by that?
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of good brains, a lot of smartest brain, and the people with the huge amount of money and resources are moving to other countries, right? Just because they want to build in Web3 space, and India do not have a favorable atmosphere or regulations around it. So they are moving, out of the India, which is causing obviously a loss to India because we are losing best mind and people with the most resources, because they don't have a favorable regulations in India.
All right, now you got me intrigued by India's infrastructure. So, like, I've never been to India. I've never been east of the Atlantic of America. What what is India like as far as technology wise? Is it all centralized in one area, or does it seem pretty spread out? Because I know Indians got like was it like a little bit over a billion people, like 1.2 billion or something like that?
Yeah, so we are the most populated country, and the technology the adoption of technology is huge in India. You will see every other person holding a smartphone, and we do all our payments via smartphones. We have our proprietary technology called UPI. In Web2, we are almost leading the world with the best engineers. We have the best engineering colleges, one of the best engineering colleges in India. We produce around 1 million engineers every year. So the technology, and we supply those engineers to the world. For example, in the Microsoft and the Google and Facebook, you will find a lot of engineers at a good place. For example, Google is led by Sundar Pichai, who is an Indian. Microsoft is led by an Indian too. So yes, so India is good on the technology front, and the technology adoption in India is also very good. And people are doing great things in India on the technology front, but in the Web2 space, not in the Web3. In the Web3 space, we have some good success stories like Sandeep Nalwal is there, who created Polygon, and the other people. But again, in Web3, since because of the lack of regulation, we don't see a lot of Indian entrepreneurs in this space. But in Web2, it's very much dominated by the Indian players and Indian entrepreneurs and Indian developers.
Why do you think India has been so successful in the technology realm? Like most people, when India is portrayed in like a movie or something, it's not how smart the people are with engineering and mathematics and stuff like that. It's usually something different. But I think we all know a lot of Indian companies have like IT services and stuff like that. Why do you think India
Yeah.
has been so successful at doing those kinds of things?
India is very successful because we have a culture here. I don't know how to say it, but the societal structure here is knitted in such a way that if you get into a good college, then your parents will make sure that you get into a good college, and then you pass out of a good university with an engineering degree. It's kind of a social structure here which facilitates this adoption. In India it's a good English speaking country because again we were ruled by British for a good 200 years, right? And so they just left India with English. So we are a good company where we can fit in the West because again our command over English is decent enough that we can go to the West and we can settle there. See, the engineering colleges in India, the universities in India have a very good infrastructure, right? And the university degrees are affordable as compared to the US. You can get into an engineering college even if you are a lower middle class or a middle class, and there are a lots kind of scholarships that you can get if you are a good student to get into the government facilitated colleges, which are very good in terms of technology. So that gives you a room to study and to get education without any extra burdens, unlike the US.
I'm having to look up the difference between America. What's the currency in India?
INR, INR, in Indian rupee.
Okay, yeah, Indian rupee. Okay. So 1 USD is equal to 82.89 Indian rupee. So
Yeah.
what's pricing for stuff over there as far as like you said affordable universities and stuff like that. Like what would be a year of tuition for somebody at like engineering school or any kind of.
So 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 if you go into the top engineering school, for example, Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of Google at this point of time, right? And so he went into IIT, and if you get into an IIT, you would pay around 2 to 3 lakh rupees. That will amount to what? 2,500 to $3,000 per year.
American dollars.
Yeah, and that's the top university, and that can land you a job of like $200,000 per year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's crazy. So
yeah.
that doesn't that really benefits Americans, but it doesn't really benefit Indian people because you would need if you could make American money in India, then that would really benefit you. If you're an Indian person making
But
American money and then spending Indian rupee.
but a lot of people do it because now we have like opportunities to work from home. I have a lot of friends who work for the American companies, and they are like paid in like $250,000 per year, and they are sitting in India, and their annual expenses, but $20,000. They are saving 2,30,000 dollars every year because they're working in US and they are staying in India. That is the kind of opportunities that you get into the IT. That's why a lot of people get into IT and then they scale their business from there. Business or the jobs also.
That is insane. So is
Yeah.
So what is the like I know we already talked about like, engineering school and everything. A lot of people are doing it, but like what's the push? Is it engineering and IT in schools? Like is that what the schools are pushing for like high school
Yes,
and colleges and universities?
so in high school we prepare for a joint exam that gets us into all these universities. And yeah, a lot of parents generally push their kids, and because we have a lot of parental pressure, right? It's like we have strong knitted families. That's where our parents basically motivate us, push us for the right things, or the right things that they believe are the right, and they'll get us into this good engineering college. And the IT is one of the most chosen after options in the high school and in the university.
Because I would say honestly, in America, there's almost like no push. It's like a neutral as far as like
Yeah,
what they want people to do. I think it used to be engineering. Everybody used to value like somebody who says I am an engineer. Like that used to be what everybody wanted
a
to do.
statement.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
honestly didn't even matter. You could be like a structural engineer, um, electrical engineer, mechanical. It didn't matter. Like whatever you were. But now it's almost as if like, it doesn't matter. Like it's very neutral. I think the young people are really into like social media and influencers, YouTube, stuff like that. But I don't really think that America is really pushing for anything technology wise to get people into these things.
Yeah, so there's a cultural shift, and so America is around 10 years ahead from us, like in terms of society. Whatsoever happens in America, it generally takes 10 to 15 years to come to India because that's the trend that I'm seeing from last few decades. So I can surely say that this thing is propagating in India as well, but it will take around 5 to 10 years to be a mainstream discussion in India around.
So I guess along those lines, we were talking about education and cryptocurrencies, but eventually finance class is going to have to turn into cryptocurrency, don't you think? Like, aren't we going to have to start teaching that in like universities?
Um, the finance is part of cryptocurrencies are part of finance only. For example, the rules of personal finance remains the same. So the basics are same for the human living. If you are an individual and you are living your life, the basic financial discipline is same regardless of the asset class.
Hmm.
So I believe the basics of the finance are same for every asset class, whether they are stocks, whether they are ETFs, whether they are mutual funds, whether they are hedge funds, whether it's real estate, whether it's startups or the cryptocurrencies or gold or any other beneficiary asset. So it's the basics are same. And obviously, the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain will be the talking point of tomorrow. For example, the internet is the basic talking point of tomorrow. We were talking about the IIT and computer science all way along. Why? Because it's the major talking point today. It can change people's life. Similarly, we will talk about everybody will talk about blockchain and cryptocurrencies 5 years down the line because that will be the major talking point. And obviously you said it very correctly that today's finance class or the cryptocurrency class will be mandatory in every universities and schools because people needed to know about it regardless of anything.
Also, with the going back to like the IT of India, do you feel like since they are into the engineering and IT fields more than I would say America, even America has the numbers, but like India has so many people and they're really, kind of gearing toward that stuff. What and I don't mean to make this like an India versus US because obviously like a lot of other countries, they're really into technology and everything. Like China, Japan
Hmm.
are really technology focused. Do you feel like certain countries are going to kind of lead the charge when it comes to these technology based information things like cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and stuff like that? Do you feel like like certain
I
countries are going to lead it?
I don't think so because again, the thought behind this is a lot of people who believe in Web3, who believe in the blockchain revolution, are generally digital nomads. So if you're a digital nomad, you are traveling to everybody everywhere, and you are not based out in one country, and you're moving from one country to another. I interact with a lot of Web3 folks from the US, from India, from China, from Japan, from Middle East, and they are all traveling, right? They do not stay in one country. For example, we have like these crypto conferences, Web3 conferences happening around the globe, and they are traveling from one conference to another conference all throughout the year. So the idea behind this is very simple that you don't have to get into one field and you can it's not a region specific game. And it will be in my personal opinion, it will be evenly distributed across the world, and no one boundary or no one territory will lead this innovation, the future's innovation.
That makes sense. I think that there are because like just when the internet came out, right? Like there
Yeah,
wasn't just one country that was like we're leading the best internet there is. You know what I mean? Like
right.
no one country was boasting about their websites or whatever. And I mean, I
Yeah,
know that even China has done a great job of
right.
controlling what their people are doing. I don't know if are they socialist or communist. I forgot what they're a government
Communist Party.
communist. So, maybe that might be just a part of their, government status is that they want certain things to be monitored through their um, internet. But I think depending on the country and how they govern things will determine the advancement, how the country decides to advance and whatever technologies that they use.
Yeah, so in Web3, how this is different. In Web2, the governments can define, right? But in the Web3 is all about being decentralized and being permissionless. That is, the one country, one government can't control you or your tech or your proprietary information, and it is distributed in such a way that you won't be able to stop it. So in Web2, obviously that was possible. That's why China did it, North Korea did it, but in Web3, it's very difficult. So I don't think so it will be possible at that scale.
What is India's government?
As in the ruling party.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Are they
So so
democracy
so
or
so we have a party called they are the right wing. currently, and the party is called BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party.
So
And they're
how does it
so
work?
so we have so we don't have the presidential elections as in the US, right? So our elections are a bit different. That is, our elections start from the ground up. That is, elect our MPs, and then our MLAs and MPs elect the prime minister. That is equivalent to the president of US for us. So in that way.
Okay. Do you
So it's a
did India kind of get that from Great Britain?
yeah, it's very similar to the Great Britain.
Oh, okay. And do you feel like that has affected how the country runs and how they have progressed as far as like what we were just talking about with like the engineering, the schooling, and all that kind of stuff?
I believe that's a good model. So I don't see India as a maybe at a loss due to our political selection. I believe that's a very smart way of political selection because our constitution is comparatively very new. Hence, I believe that's a very good kind of a government structure in India, and we have a very good democratic process in India. I don't ever feel demoralized with the democratic process in India on that front.
Yeah, and I think America's way of functioning as far as like our political um, reasoning has attributed to what we're doing. As I said, we do um, very little pushing of people into certain career fields. Like in high school, the average, I would say the average public school in America is very basic. They're not really pushing you to anything, but like you can go to, we call them like trade schools or feeder schools or whatever, and they basically can gear you toward doing a specific thing. They can gear you toward doing engineering or art or music, certain things. But the average one is there's really no push, and I think that's says a lot about America's government and how we um it's very open ended. Like there's really two parties who are really competing for government spaces, Democratic and Republican. But other than that, like people just aren't winning independent parties. So I think because of our kind of like free will type of voting system, I think it affects like our schooling. Like people have the opportunity to do whatever they want. So that's what people do. They do whatever they want. So it helps and it kind of hurts at the same time because we aren't making these pushes into the technology realm and stuff like that. But some people just naturally want to do it.
Yeah, so US had a huge advantage when it comes to the monetary system because US dollar is the basic currency that propagates around the world, and so they holded a lot of power and resources to deploy for their citizens. But I believe, and I might be wrong here, that due to the political nature of the country and due to the will of certain people, it was not very positive. That's why we see a huge amount of student loans in US, and people are suffering from all kind of the health infrastructure is failing to help people, and it's unaffordable to certain people. But the case is very different in India, right? We don't have the structure. As I've told you, the higher education is still very affordable in India, right? And the our social structure is comparatively better to the US, on that front. For the average Indian, I'm comparing the average Indian versus the average American, right? The lower middle class. I'm not comparing the elites because elites of both the countries are enjoying their best, right? So, it's not an issue for them. So I'm comparing the lower middle class of US to lower middle class of India, and I certainly feel that the US structure or the infrastructure at this point of time is failing because I have a lot of friends in the US who have shifted to countries like India, and now they are living happily here and they are working from here. They are running their startup. They have their tech startups and they are running their tech startups while living in India
Wow.
because the cost of living in India is very low. The healthcare, for example, I had a friend. He had some kind of a the basically a tooth injury, and he used to get this tooth surgery. And in the US, they quoted him 1,80,000, right? And he got the same surgery with the better facilities, with the better room, and then the topmost hospital in India for and the bills $5,000.
Oh my
And and you should read about a term called medical tourism. If you're on the internet, do read about it. Medical tourism. That is, a lot of people are traveling from the US and the Canada and all the west to the countries like India, where we have the best medical infrastructure. You can travel to India. You'll get if you have a heart surgery or if you want a leg surgery, it's best to travel to India. You will get a good care here, and the cost would be 1/10 or 1/5 for that matter, as compared to the, and you will get better facilities. You will get better doctors, you will get better nurses, you will get better medications in India as compared to the US. So
Gee,
that's yeah. So that's the whole term. And so again, that can be a very tricky thing for a lot of people.
man, that's crazy. Do you think that you know, America, I would say specifically, is having an issue with obesity. Like a lot of Americans are overweight and out of shape and stuff like that. And it has contributed to heart disease and all kinds of medical issues that Americans are having, especially with the access to food that we have now. Uh,
Yeah. So
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So America is like they have exported their heart issues and all the obesity to India as well via McDonald's and KFC and whatnot. So America is not just responsible for America's obesity; it's responsible for India's obesity as well. And yeah, that's a big of a concern, right? And we see a lot of people suffering from all of these things with all these giants making billions out of it. The McDonald's and the KFCs and the Burger Kings of the world and the Coke and the Pepsi of the world are making like billions of the dollars. And they are all American products destroying the world at its best.
Yeah.
For sure, it's a big issue.
And I was actually just having this conversation with my wife the other day about like so many other places have like cheap or not cheap, but like well built homes and stuff. Like we talk about England. England,
Yeah,
like, there's the average person who lives in England, their house is probably
yeah,
older than the United States
yeah,
completely. So I think America, because we value capitalism, just making money, as you said, Coke,
right.
Pepsi are making billions of dollars, but they aren't making a health food. You know, they're making stuff
Absolutely.
that's actually bad for people's health, but they're making money. So we keep praising them for the money that they're making and not for the product that they're helping people with.
Absolutely, 100%. That is the biggest issue that we are facing at this point of time. And, they are exporting all this, the sugary drinks and everything to India and to all of these countries. And they are a big issue for the world. That's why the diabetes is growing, the heart disease is growing, and the obesity is growing around the world. So which is very, very tricky for the world. Husband. At the same time, you mentioned about the housing. So the housing is very unaffordable everywhere in India and in US also. I've seen a lot of Indians. The housing is very unaffordable these days. So yeah, so similar issues with India in the housing as well. But I must invite you. You should come to India sometime, right? With your wife, and it will be a very good journey for you. I'll make sure that you have a good time here. If you're coming to India, just you have my email. Just drop me email. I'll do all the arrangements for you, and you can come. And you should visit India once. It will be a good experience. I can assure you.
That sounds insane. Like I definitely would like to come because of what you definitely described in this podcast because I've heard of places like Thailand and other places that are, you know, far out east that just have access to stuff at a much cheaper
Yeah,
rate. And it seems like the countries are really taking care of the people more. They really care about overall well-being more than the US. US is kind of like do what you want, here you go. But other countries are like,
yeah,
let's all live a great life.
absolutely, 100%. So yeah, that can be a good thing.
Awesome. Well, it's about time to wrap up. If you could go ahead and give people like ways they can contact you or look at your website or whatever you have.
Yeah, so we have a good Telegram community that is cruisefare dot cruisefare ICP India Hub. You should join that, or if you want to reach out to me, my name is Bandhul Bansal. You should write it at B for Bombay, Bandhul. That is my first name, Bandhul, and then Bansal, Bansal, and you can connect me on LinkedIn or Twitter probably. I'm most active there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all the knowledge and wisdom that you shared on just cryptocurrencies, the financial state of India and what's going on with their advancement and these kind of things and how and even the medical situation and all kinds of stuff. It's really cool hearing that perspective from somebody who's actually there and not from, a lot of people in America would be like, "Oh, in India, I hear that blah blah blah," but you're giving a really good perspective from that, and I thank you for it.
Thank you, Jackson, for hosting me. It was a lovely chatting up with you, and I learned a lot. And it was great talking to you. Thank you for all the conversations that we had.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.